Reject any possible sign, trace, or behavior of degeneracy for the sake of self-improvement. Let's quickly define what is a degenerative behavior. It's something, a hobby, a quality, or an idea that you engage in over time, and as weeks pass, months, years, or more, it may hurt a little bit at first, like stubbing your toe, but once a lot of time passes, everything that's stacked up from it will come crashing down, and it'll hit you all at once when you realize, what exactly have I been doing all of this time? That being said, why don't we quickly define a couple of degenerative behaviors? To start off, possibly you could be overly critical. What I mean by that, imagine you're reading a book or a paper, like an English essay, and instead of just peacefully reading to understand what's going on, you are actively skewing for what's wrong. What's the point of reading a book or an essay if you're only acknowledging the flaws and not the positives? Let me make it clear, you need to think about that just for a second. Moving on, perhaps you have a lack of financial control, whether it's between shopping or buying outside food. Personally, myself, when I was a younger teenager, I spent lots of money on outside food. 5 to 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. Imagine it like this: Monday, Taco Bell; Tuesday, Burrito Express; Wednesday, Caesar's Pizza, and the list goes on and on. I never spent time to think about or acknowledge that this was a degenerative behavior. I was so lost in engorging myself, in enjoying the tasty foods, regardless of the genre or cuisine, that were all so delicious, and I never really cared how much money I was spending. I never really noticed how much weight I was gaining, as I never considered this a problem. I never looked at it from the perspective it was degenerative. And I'm sure you have gone through something similar to that. And yes, shopping can be applied here. Let's say you are a big fan of jackets, tank tops, or just t-shirts in general. You like to look good. You like to dress your best. I like to dress sleek and super comfy at home. But if you find yourself opening your bank app on your phone and you don't know where your money is going, and you wonder, why did I spend so much on clothes? Well, let that speak for himself. These are all, and I'm sure besides these two qualities, just basic examples of unhealthy lifestyle choices that you may or may not realize that are actually degenerative. The main purpose of all of this, you have to be willing to ask yourself the hard questions. You have to be willing to accept that you have a problem, you have a flaw. You may possess a degenerative quality that you have to replace with integrity, with respect, with wholesome qualities and values. As a kind reminder, integrity is just the purpose or the state of being true to yourself. No matter what happens to me, no matter what happens to you, or regardless of what happens in this ever-evolving world, we will not discard our values. We will not throw away who we are for a trend or a fad, and we will not give in so easily. Nowadays, it's so easy for people to just discard everything about themselves for something cheap, but I'm sure you are better than that. I want to believe that you are. You shouldn't complain about having degenerative qualities. People who tend to complain so much tend to be immersed in their negative state of suffering and complaining, and it's kind of like a feedback loop. It continuously feeds into itself, because the kinds of people that don't acknowledge they have a problem will never truly change. You need to ask yourself the very hard, uncomfortable question: what is wrong with me? Is this degenerative of myself? is this behavior or hobby I have or have been doing, is it a harm to me? Is it a harm to you? Is it something that will impede me in the future? I say a hard question because, like for most people, asking yourself these direct, uncomfortable questions is difficult. It's tough. I'm sure that any man or woman would have a tricky time asking themselves what's wrong with them. But doing so enables the process of you opening the doors for greater potential to acknowledge that you can change in the world of self-development. You need to start seeing all of these traces, clues, and signals of degeneracy with unhealthy behaviors as unacceptable of our human moral standards. You gotta see that it's an issue. You gotta see that it's a problem. Once you shift your mindset a little, things will really start to get rolling. Above all, you need to take ownership of your life. You know you best. I've said this several times, but it's one of my important core philosophies that I always have to convey. You know exactly what's going on with you, your mind, your body, things you like, things you dislike. So, since I said that, why don't you abide by it? Why don't you apply it and remove any trace of degeneracy for the sake of self-improvement?